Happy Aries new moon, everyone. Hello, artists. I have decided to do Inktober, and I thought I would do a intro to it because why not? And I'm going to paint my nails because I haven't felt like painting my nails in a while, and it's something that I've really missed. I enjoy looking at my hands. I sew a lot, and I've been working with Orlando Ballet on their production of Dracula. So now I am staring at my hands a good amount of the day. Basic alterations, hems, change a button, move this, lots of tutu work. I actually really enjoy working there. The shop used to be directly across the street from where I live, and that was like the best gig ever because zero commute. Just walk across the street and I'm there. It's like the simple things. I also really enjoy working with Eddie and Norellis, and generally the vibe of the shop is just like very, very pleasant. It's also trilingual, which I enjoy. So my only official language, I guess I speak, I don't know, I think of it as like I speak both American Standard English and African American Vernacular English. But in this shop I've learned tiny bits of Portuguese. Sometimes there are people that speak Portuguese, and the designer is trilingual, so it's just cool. It's always just been like a really interesting mix of people coming from all over the world. Sewing, like Eddie is such a great person, and he just has a knack for pulling in wonderful, beautiful souled people. And even though it's always, theater and ballet is always crazy, like it's always kind of here and there, but Eddie really does a great job of making working there pleasurable, enjoyable, and fun. Like, we've gotten up and actually, like, and I'm not really into like a work family kind of vibe at all, but I really do like working with these people. They genuinely have great birthday parties, and we'll bring in, you know, some rum and liquor and like have like a, you know, we got to get this done, but it's nothing intense, so we can have a little liquor, you know, play some reggaeton, some music, yeah, bachata, like all the dances, like. And then when there's other people from Brazil, there's always like lots of like Portuguese music and dancing and things. So that's been part of my life with this Inktober, has been figuring out how to draw in between everything I'm doing. So I'm going to let this coat dry and I'll be back. Do you see this? All of this has been acquired during this pandemic. I was not into nail polish at all. And then I went through grief, just grief. Grief of the life, grief of the world changing, and new things coming up when you have more time to think about like life, what you want, what you don't want, people. I love staying at home. Like, staying at home wasn't the issue for me. It was more so trying to understand how people were struggling with the concept of staying home and what we have to do, and like how each of us, I think I'm gonna pick this color. Yeah. That was really stressful for me. like understanding how other people are going to respond to it and like what's my part, what's their part. And so I just began to hyperfixate on my nails and playing solitaire. I love playing solitaire. I love card games so much. Even though I'm an only child, so that's probably why I really enjoy solitaire so much, because there was never anybody to play with. It's also why I don't really care for board games, because again, there's really no one to play with. Inktober is something that I have really wanted to do probably the last 2 years. But every year, this is the busiest time of my year. In Florida, where I am a artist, our filming season is very much like school in that it starts in the fall when it starts getting too cold up north for all the productions, and it starts to snow and icy, and it's just like unsafe for people to be outside filming. Everything moves to Florida, and that's when all of the summer shoots are filmed, beach shoots, things like that. Inktober falling in October is like the worst time for me. I've tried last year. 2020 was the first year I tried. I got 0 out of 0 drawings done. I barely even had a sketchbook. I just had like a bunch of loose pieces of watercolor paper and like a pencil, and I was like, I could just do it on the fly, even though I was working on this cruise ship commercial. It didn't go anywhere. And then the next year I was like, I'll do it digitally, and then did a bunch of other things that had nothing to do with Inktober and definitely were not each day. So this year I'm trying to do it. I'm just gonna attempt it and also make videos with it as a way. Welcome to the life of being highly sensitive. The fumes from my own nails are causing my eyes to water. No, I'm not crying. I'm usually always crying, but gosh, people don't understand, like, being highly sensitive in this world is a struggle. Because like, I'm gonna open a window, I'll be fine, but I never know when I'm going to run into some kind of environmental toxin that's just going to like, yeah, so let's go open a window. Is this how you dry your nails? This is how I dry mine. I just turn on my hair and I just sort of like wave them in the air to see if I can like move the fumes around. I clearly don't know what I'm doing. This is not a nail tutorial. I totally forgot to do this nail. Such is life. I don't really know how to paint my thumbs well. Like, not only is it awkward, but because I was forced in private school to only write with my right hand, my left hand is the weaker, but I originally was supposed to be ambidextrous, which I've now found out is a classic sign that you are dyslexic. And neurodivergent is that my brain sees both of my hands as being one and the same, which they are one and the same. And so to me as a child, like writing left hand, right hand didn't really matter. But because I've been conditioned to use my right hand as my dominant hand, my left hand is a lot weaker. So when it comes to the thumbs, I'm just like, babes, I don't know what I'm doing. So I guess we'll dry them. Like, somebody tell me how do they dry their nails. I guess I could get one of those like things you put your fingers in, but I don't have. Look at this table. This is like, I'm already jammed up in here. I don't have a lot of space. This stuff is so pretty. It has like a green cast to it, so it definitely will cancel out certain colors. I'm sure you can see that there's a slight green. It also reads pink. And on top of this, I'm only going to do one coat because I want to keep the nail polish purple. And if I do a second coat, then it will turn more blue. Inktober or Fashiontober. So of course there's controversy about just saying the word Inktober because this is America. And appropriation happens. People don't get credit for what they've done. Oh, hold on. Let me look at the... So, I have Pen and Ink Drawing, a Simple Guide by Alfonso Dunn. And I use it in my class because, oh my goodness, is it a good book? It's a great book. I've learned so much about drawing in general, but also hatching, stippling, just like how to create layers in pen and ink so things don't look so flat and dry. The controversy is that this person's work was stolen and appropriated by the other person who has now marketed and copyrighted the term Inktober. But we ain't gonna let appropriating artists be great. So always I try to go to the source, but also I'm doing my own thing. Like, this is Fashiontober. This is a black person living in the South who wants to be an artist and is a creative being. Tober. I'm not even into the fall. Like, I am not a fall person. You will not catch me drinking a pumpkin spice latte. Not my jam. But I have wanted to do this challenge because I like the idea of studying something that is, one, hard. My natural artistic language is not in... Drawing is... How should I put this? Drawing is like my third artistic language. I kind of explain to students that I really feel like we all are gifted in a specific type of artistic language. So this is how this is turning out. Comparison. You see it? It's so bright in here. Maybe not. I can tell. And that's all that matters. So this challenge for me is about creating my own artistic meditation. I've been listening to a lot of sound currents, binaural beats on YouTube. I'm like honestly a little obsessed with this reading of the Tao Te Ching that has binaural beats over it or underneath it. Maybe the sound is underneath the audiobook. Big fan of audiobooks in general, but this particular one is so soothing. Like, it makes me feel like I am breathing better. Like, every time I listen to it, I find myself taking deeper and more meaningful breaths and also letting go of a lot of stresses. As I mentioned earlier, I've been working on Dracula costumes for Orlando Ballet, and the shop is not stressful, but just the nature of not being home, not being able to take the breaks that I want to take, being in just different environment, all of that creates a certain amount of just natural stress on the body. And I've just found that if I listen to these binaural beats while I'm working, the time goes by really quickly, and I find that my mind is not as stressed and just burnt out by the end of the day. I really do think that there might be something to like just taking in constant voice talk kind of media all the time that really wears out your brain. And I've just been trying to protect my brain and self and mental health at all costs. So even if I'm working, I want to do something that brings a peace and balance to wherever I am. Let's let these dry. I found that if I put objects in my hands while I'm waiting for my nails to dry, it kind of helps, at least until I forget while I was holding the items and then put them down. But usually by then they're dry enough to kind of take some of the things. I also have been using, before Inktober was my meditation, actually polishing my nails has been it. I just found like a day out of the week or maybe every other day. This really didn't really matter. I was quite disabled this summer dealing with my sciatica. So any activity that I could lay down and do, I could stop. And when my back needed me to stop, or my neck needed me to stop, or my leg needed me to stop. And nail polish, nail painting clearly became my thing. And it is a great meditation. It really is. Like, and when I say meditation, I mean focusing your mind on something that brings you joy, pleasure, happiness, glitter, right? And it's, in a weird but makes total sense to me, my ability to focus on Inktober is because I've been practicing focusing painting my nails. Because meditation is a skill like anything else. I get why we here in the West think that you should just be naturally good at meditating because you're just sitting there. You're not really doing anything. Like, that's why I hear people like, oh, but like, I'm not doing anything. And I'm like, you are. To not move your hands for an hour is hard work. First, you have to remember what the heck you're doing. That's the hardest step for me, was remembering that I decided that I wanted to do something 5 minutes ago and then remembering it 5 minutes later. So I found that like part of my meditation practice is like putting objects in my hands until they dried. Now with Inktober, I find that having the thing I am either inspired by or copying on the left hand side or there, and then setting up my page has really helped with like helping my mind focus on this is the only thing that I have to focus on, and then this is the picture that I have to focus on. Because one of the drawings this week, I was not really paying attention, and I was thinking about camels. And then I was thinking about how as a kid, back in the day in Phoenix, they gave out, Phoenix was like the Wild Wild West in the 90s. They would give out like Camel cigarettes. I remember this. Would actually have like the mascot at events and things that children would be at, and they would just give you a little Camel cigarette like coloring book, and I loved it because I love camels. So I remember like actually coloring in the camel. So while I'm doing my Inktober, Fashiontober drawing, I start thinking about this memory, which then made me think about other cartoons that I liked. And then it made me think about Johnny Bravo, because I was drawing this pyramid, and for some reason it was like very angular, and it was like, oh, it's almost like the shape of like Johnny Bravo's head. And I was like, 1, 2, 3, 4. And before I knew it, I drew the arm and like a couple other pieces in exactly the same rendering style as that cartoon, which was funny but also upsetting at the same time because it kind of ruined the whole thing. And so I just put tape over the part that I don't like, but there's one very like Johnny Bravo square arm, which is just part of being an artist, when your brain kind of floats away but your hand is drawing what you're thinking, which is kind of an interesting skill that I've developed over. I've been teaching myself how to draw since I was a child. And because it is not my first artistic language, it's probably like my fourth. Fiber is definitely my first artistic language. These nails might be done now. I don't know. I'm going to end here. And enjoy the rest of the video footage of Inktober. You'll probably see these nails, as this is day 8 or day 7. I don't know. I'm dyslexic. I'm not really keeping track of the days, but I am keeping track of the days. That's like how dyslexia works. It's like, I don't know what day it is. I just know what I'm doing on that day. It all makes sense to me. Here's a list that I made up for my own Fashiontober. Perfume, glass, older black woman, jewelry, face and ear, romantic style, male, gender non-conforming male. Suitcase, high fashion. Underwear, non-binary. Sequins, lace. Mexican mujeres, I believe is how you say it, the culture of non-binary Mexican people. Athleisure, gentlewomen of distinction, Miami Beach, sleepwear. Watches, menswear, street style / hip hop, print shoot, makeup, wild makeup, and Grace Jones is the inspiration for that. Grunge, non-binary, male, Zoolander, 90s boy band, Orlando, zoot suit, Denzel Washington in Malcolm X, and or just Malcolm X in general. Golden Leopard, Real Housewives of Atlanta, Baps, because I love Baps, Vintage Kimono, Food as Fashion, California Boho, Veil, Hoodoo. October is Hoodoo Heritage Month, which is also African American Spirituality Heritage Month. Afro-futuristic uniforms, hats slash crowns, black churches, shoes for people with disabilities, tattoos as clothing. So I was thinking like people that have had mammogram. I was thinking people that have had mastectomies. That have had mastectomies and have used tattooing to cover up the scar, or just using tattoos as body art to add to the body. Recycled fashion, zero waste, Mami Wata. And the final one is Witch. I was thinking either the witches from Eve's Bayou, because I am obsessed with that movie, or Angela Davis from American Horror Story, because, oh my god, love that film. Love it. Love her part. That whole season is weird and messy, and they kind of like, they ruined it. Like, it just, American Horror Story is a big old hot mess, but there are some moments that I'm like, I would love to design these moments. And also, I just think that working with Angela Bassett, who's from Florida, would actually be pretty cool. Like, she's from St. Pete, I'm from Orlando, we're both Central Florida, Southern artists, like, yeah. So, I am actually excited to get through all of this and see where it goes. It's already been a good experience. It really has. Each day, figuring out when I'm going to even get this done. Challenging, but exciting.